And there we go. Napoleon is back. He may not look as cool as he used to, but he is back. And we are now the French Empire. But we're also the European Union, so we retained all of our cores on all of Germany, all of Italy, the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, everything. So we are incredibly strong. It's only January 1941. We have an entire run ahead of us. And this is what we control already, basically all of Europe. And we are ready to face the Allies. We are ready to avenge Waterloo. Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. I recently made a Democratic France guide in which, with a perfect setup, we absolutely dominated World War II and formed the European Union. Then I thought, how could I make this even better? Well, by bringing back Napoleon, of course. So in today's guide, not only we are going to dominate World War II, not only we are going to form the European Union, we're also going to turn non-aligned and bring back the Empire. If that sounds interesting, then this is the right video for you. Now, among other benefits, compared to Democratic France, this will also give us a lot more opportunities for further expansion and to continue this run. Let me warn you though, if you already watched my Democratic France guide, a lot of the video will look like more of the same. However, there are some important differences which will enable our future expansions, so make sure to follow the video carefully. As always, if you have any doubts, feel free to ask in the comments and to join our Discord to meet our amazing community. And of course, if you have been following the channel and enjoying the content I make, please do not forget to support the channel by liking the video, subscribing and leaving a comment. Now that's all for the introduction, so let's get straight into our initial setup for France. Now the initial setup will be basically the same that we used for Democratic France. In fact, we are Democratic France at the moment. I will add some improvements compared to the older video in several parts of the run, so that's another reason to pay attention to this initial setup. Let me remind you that focuses and researches will not be covered in the video. You can check them in the unedited version, but you can also find them in the description of the video. In terms of buildings, we are going to build infrastructures followed by full civilian factories in these two provinces here. Now, in terms of military production, it's important that you follow the same steps if you want to have the same amount of equipment. We set support equipment to 4, towed artillery to 1, trucks to 1. We assigned 2 factories to anti-air, but future ones, 1 to trains, and then the default 2 plus all of the future ones to infantry equipment. In terms of naval production, I always leave it entirely up to you. It's totally free, but if you want to do it like me, I just leave the default one and assign full dockyards to all of them. I will also add some convoys at the end. Keep in mind that the convoys are quite important for our strategy, as we will use them later on to annex more quickly Italy and to reduce the autonomy of our puppets. Now, in terms of the armies, first of all, we are going to decommission this Division Coloniale and the Brigade de Chars de Combat. We are not going to use the tanks, we are not going to use motorized, at least for this part of the run. And I'm going to rename the other ones Inf for infantry, Mon for mountaineers, Cav for cavalry, Def with this icon for our defensive template. One of the reasons I renamed them is if you're following my spreadsheets, which you can get access to with a tier 2 membership to the channel, it will be easier to follow the instructions. By the way, I recently improved a lot the spreadsheets, adding a lot of information, especially about setups and how to manage the wars in detail. So if you're a member of the channel already, let me know what you think about it. If you're not a member of the channel yet, please consider supporting the channel and get access to these, I think, pretty cool spreadsheets. Now, to split our army, we're going to create only one group, and then we're going to switch one cavalry to Def. We're going to remove all Def by double-clicking on them, and all Mountaineers by double-clicking on them. You should have 46 divisions that we are going to change entirely into infantry. And then we're going to split them into 2 armies. You did everything correctly. You should have 4 armies, which we are going to assign to 1 marshal. The marshal will be Maxime. The generals will be Jean de Lattre and Charles de Gaulle. For the defensive army, we are going to use Gaston. And for the mountaineers, we're going to use René Horry. Now, it doesn't matter much what you do with these armies, but try not to let them die of attrition. So I give them a full back line like this, and I shift click on train so that they all train all the way up to regular. I'm also going to gather all of our fleet in Marseille, or actually I think it's Toulon. And we're going to assign them an admiral, but we are not going to train them because we lack the oil to do so. And then we're going to gather all of our planes, except for the carrier ones, again in southern France, and the planes we can train. Shift-click here to train them all the way up to regular. We're going to change the occupation law to local autonomy and the garrison to cavalry. We're going to release Algeria as a puppet right away. I already explained the benefits of this, but basically we will later on re-annex them through the focus, the Bloom Violet proposal. And the advantage of releasing them now is that we don't lose anything, they don't have anything. We actually save on manpower for garrisons, and in the meantime they will build an industry. So when we re-annex them, we will have some extra additional factories, which we otherwise wouldn't get. We're going to create an agency. And then later on we're going to use our spy to spy in Italy. And with this our initial setup is done, basically the same as with Democratic France. We didn't get a seducer for our spy, but that's okay. We will send this guy to Italy, to Genova. When you get this event, issue a diplomatic objection. We don't want a war with Germany just yet. Although that's possible, that's another viable way to play France, but not for this one. For some of the researches, and you will find it in the description too, you should not pick the MIO, so go for research without a military-industrial organization. Otherwise you will lack the political power. Okay, we got the very lucky event with the elections. So at the elections you have a couple of possible events. One of them is this one, public demands rearmament. And with this one you can get early mobilization right away. This is actually absolutely amazing, and in addition to that you also get base war support plus 5%, so this is fantastic. The other possible event that you get, and I feel like the other one is a bit more common, is something about communism in the government, and you get the choice between more communism support or losing some stability in favor of additional democratic support. And that second option, so losing stability for more democratic support, is the best choice, in my opinion, in that case. But if you get this event, of course, go for early mobilization. Now, since I don't want to make this guide easier, I will pretend that I got the other event. So I will actually lose 5% stability, which is terrible. Don't do it if you get this event. I will do it to make it a bit more difficult and to simulate the other event. Now, about concentrated or the dispersed industry, I recently made a video about it. Make sure to check it out. It goes very much in detail about that. And overall, dispersed is the best choice, but for highly optimized guides, concentrated tends to perform slightly better. So in this run, I'm going for concentrated. But if you feel like you want to make some changes to my production or produce some different type of equipment, then probably dispersed is going to work better for you. Make sure to check out the video to see the detailed comparison. Okay, and at 150 political power, which was a real struggle to get to, we can finally pick the silent workhorse and boost a little bit our political power gain. This is also a good time to switch our spy to quiet intel network in Italy. Now, if you're following my research priority, at this point you will get 3 research slots available at the same time, because we need to wait for the focus to complete in order to get some very nice discounts on all of the industrial researches. Now, at 50 political power, we're going to pick the army defense specialist, so we're going to start building some army experience. At the same time, we're also going to start building military factories in 100% provinces, and then also in all of the 80% provinces. So all of these provinces. Now, when we get this event, we are not going to help Spain, but we are actually going to help them later in a much better way. Here is our MIO priority for infantry equipment. At 35 army experience, we're going to pick relief of command. Absolutely amazing. The army advisor cost minus 50% and army experience gain plus 25%. Definitely the best thing about being a democracy. We're also going to start positioning our armies for Spain. I'm going to use the LATCA to push into anarchist Spain.
Attention.
I'm going to use the goal to push into nationalist Spain here in the north, and he will be supported by the mountaineers as well. As for the defensive army, we are going to send it to Marseille, and then later on we will send them to defend the remaining part of democratic Spain, which is actually not having a very good time. Here is the MIO priority for our fighters and CAS. Alright, as soon as you complete this focus, and not a minute later because Spain is in big trouble, we need to join the war in Spain and save democratic Spain. And in order to do so, we are going to pick allow volunteer work. These are special decisions that you unlock by completing the focus I just showed you. So allow volunteer work, and then you should be able to pick intervene on side of Spain, which will bring us directly into this war. At this point we also want to block the naval regions, the sea regions around Spain, except for Western Mediterranean Sea. We are going to block it too, but only after moving our defensive army into Spain. We're also going to block this region of the Mediterranean. We are going to send our defensive army to protect Spain, and while they are going there, you want to protect your convoys. Let's say 3 on convoy escort, 1 on strike force. Just make sure that they don't get intercepted. We don't want to lose war support. We're also going to change the battle plan execution to aggressive and the motorization priority to maximum. We're going to assign all of our planes and we're going to split them evenly between the 2 main armies. We're going to pick bold attack and we are going to start the offensives immediately. By the way, when you join the civil war in Spain, you will get this event, civil unrest, which in about 80 days will give us a communist uprising, a civil war in France. And guess what? We really don't want that. However, since we picked the focuses very carefully, as soon as we complete this focus, which is going to take less than 80 days, we're going to get rid of that minus 10% stability debuff. And thanks to that, we're going to get immediately out of this event. You need to be very careful with the timing, but if you follow the timing correctly, you will not have a problem with the civil war. Anarchist Spain should go down first, and based on your war score, in this case it's pretty low, decide which one to annex, whether Catalonia or Eastern Aragon. I will try to get Eastern Aragon. I mentioned this in the other video too, but you also have the option, if you have the By Blood Alone DLC, I believe, to puppet them, but this will create a satellite, not a proper puppet. So I prefer to annex them and then release them as a puppet. When you get this event, always divert bomber production. Now, if you still see convoys being raided, try to lock more sea regions, because we really don't want our convoys to be raided. Now, of course, after repeal the law of exile, we get the chance to turn non-aligned right away, and we have 3 options. We will talk about this later, but we're not going to do it now, because if we do it now, then we cannot form the European Union. If you want to form the European Union, you need to delay these focuses until after that. Alright, I'm slightly late, but as soon as you complete the previous focus, you also want to pick partial mobilization, which is one of the main reasons we go for the civil war in Spain. At 150 political power, just to be on the safe side, we're going to pick war propaganda. Now, if you can pick radio propaganda, this is also very good, but that's not always the case. There is some RNG in every run, and in this case the war tension is particularly high. Sometimes it is as low as 24% at this point. And when that's the case, you cannot pick radio propaganda, but you can always pick war propaganda. So we're going to pick war propaganda for the consistency of it. We're also going to make some adjustments to our production. We are going to bring the support equipment production to 5, anti-air to 4. We set the infantry equipment to 15, and we assign all future factories to improved artillery, but we bring the priority to the lowest. And this is our MIO priority for artillery. And that's it. The civil war in Spain is done. Now again, depending on your war score, you will be able to annex a little bit more or a little bit less, but what I would suggest taking is Western Aragon, and then try to get with Burgos to these provinces here. Valladolid, León, Salamanca, because you get some nice tungsten from here. And then maybe Navarra to keep them all together. If you have any spare points at the end, you can also take some of the Spanish Navy. Now, when you get below 25% war support, you will also get this event, Demobilize Our Economy, which has a timer, and you get strikes if your war support doesn't get above 25% by the end of that timer. Now, even if you get the strikes, that's not the worst, because as soon as you get more than 25% war support, this event will completely disappear, the strikes will disappear. So if you follow the guide carefully, and if you are lucky, like in this case with the war tension, and if you didn't get too many convoys raided, like in this case, you will be able to get rid of this very quickly. If you were a bit less lucky, you may get the strikes for a couple of months, but in any case you will get rid of them, and it is still worth taking partial mobilization. Partial mobilization is amazing, so it's worth the effort. Now, after the war, we are immediately going to release Nationalist Spain as our puppet, so we don't waste any garrisons in there, we don't have to worry about resistance. We're going to promote Jean de Lattre to Marshal, and we're going to replace Maxime. Now, if you're lucky, he gets some nice trades here. You can extend the civil war in Spain a little bit longer if you want, and he may get some of the best trades in here. Infantry expert, for example, would be very nice. and logistics wizard, but we didn't get it in this case, so that's alright. Still, these are pretty nice traits to have. The general which will replace Delattre will be Alphonse Juin. Terrible pronunciation for sure. Okay, now we are going to unblock all of these sea regions except for the Eastern Mediterranean Sea. We leave that blocked for World War II. Another amazing thing about joining the war in Spain is that then you get this event which is absolutely OP. You get a lot of base stability and you usually get it twice for some reason. So we send back the volunteers, we get some nice stability, and then as you can see immediately I got another one, so we send back the volunteers again and we get even more stability. And as you can see, we also got above 25% war support, meaning we don't get any bad event, any strikes anymore. This is particularly lucky because the war tension is very high, so usually you get this a little bit later. And here is our priority for trucks and mechanized. At 150 political power, we're going to pick the War Industrialist Advisor. At 50 political power, we're going to pick the Ground Support Specialist. And we're going to make some changes to our templates. We want to bring our infantry to my usual offensive template, so we add a lot of artillery, we add the support anti-air, we add the cavalry recon, and we add the field hospital. I'm going to change the name to offensive, we're going to give them a fancier icon, and we're going to change them to an elite template. We're also going to add the engineer support company to our defensive armies. Then we're also going to recruit 2 additional offensive divisions and 48 additional defensive divisions. At 75 political power, we are going to pick radio propaganda. Now, in this specific case, we don't absolutely need it, but if you haven't gotten to above 25% war support, this will fix your strikes problem. We're going to pick it again for the sake of consistency. At this point of the run, you usually get rid of the strikes, regardless of what happened before. Unless maybe you did very, very bad in terms of convoys raided and casualties in Spain. This is also a good time to start building land forts at the border with Belgium. And we're going to pick forts up to tier 4, so something like this. And then I usually also upgrade the supply hub in Nice by clicking here. Upgrade bottlenecks. Again, we leave this as the lowest priority. This is not mandatory, but it helps a bit with the supplies when we fight in Italy. At 100 political power, we're going to pick the improved worker conditions. Not absolutely mandatory, but I like to have some higher stability, just in case we get some unlucky events later on. Make sure you wait for this focus before you pick the improved small airframe, so you get a discount. By the way, I love how when you go for revive the national block, it messes up completely the focus tree, and the intervention on Spain is on top of some other stuff. Completely broken. So at 150 political power, we're going to pick the industrial concern. Now, when you need tungsten, you can import it from Spain, our puppet Spain. Okay, as soon as you complete this focus, it is time to design our new fighters. And of course, we are going for our usual amazing F2 design. Now, we're also going to start building more military factories, starting from the 100% provinces and then in all 80% provinces. We're also going to make some changes to our production, and we bring the production of artillery down to 8. We increase the production of support equipment to 8. And then everything else will go to our F2. Lowest priority, but all future factories. We're going to add the anti-air company to our defensive armies. We're going to pick the army logistics specialist. We're going to pick the air superiority expert. And then if you can, you should also pick the infantry expert specialist. But we cannot because Delattre didn't get it. Now we're going to force deploy all of the divisions which are still training. And we're going to set up our armies for World War II. Now we're going to set up all of the defensive divisions and the mountaineers to be with a different marshal. And the marshal will be, of course, Maxime. He also has very, very good traits now. He has logistics wizard, which we can pick right away. For the generals, we're going to use the 2 Henry. One Henry and the other Henry. For the setup, again, keep in mind that there is a detailed explanation in the spreadsheet. But the basics is we're going to assign Alphonse to Belgium, together with one of the defensive armies. We're going to assign the defensive army, which is basically already trained, to the border with Germany. We're going to send Charles de Gaulle down all the way to Marseille. And we're going to plan a naval invasion of Italy from Toulon to the area of Genova all the way down to Livorno. So it should be like this, groups of 2. Then we're going to send the mountaineers at the northern border with Italy, the top 3 tiles, with an offensive line into Italy. And the last defensive army to cover the bottom 4 tiles again with an offensive line into Italy. We're going to shift-click on all of them to train them, and we're going to change the motorization priority to maximum for all of them. We're also going to release Tunisia as a puppet. Tunisia is here, and the advantage of releasing it is that in this way we don't have to worry about Italy. We don't have to defend this border at all. Alright, World War II is starting, but not for us, so for now we can chill. Until the war tension gets to 100%, we will not do much. Okay, we got to 100% war tension, which means we can now fabricate claims, and we're going to use that right away to justify a claim on Italy. We also want to gather all of our navy in Toulon. Now we're also going to deploy new planes if we have some, or if we don't, like in this case, we're going to gather all of our planes in the area of Marseille, and we're going to train them all. Finally, we're going to import some oil from the United States, and I usually go for 7 civilian factories. Now, sometimes Germany will attack you around November, sometimes a bit later, sometimes not at all, until you attack Italy, until you almost capitulate Italy. So there is a bit of RNG here, and generally speaking, it is better when Germany attacks you early. So if they attack you already in November, it's great. Because in here they will never be able to break through, and we will farm a lot of army experience and general traits by having the German divisions crush into us. And of course, moreover, they will also destroy their armies. But it looks like they are not going to attack us. You can usually tell because they don't have divisions in here, so probably not in this case. Now, whether Germany attacks you or not, around March or late February 1940, you will get your claim on Italy, and at this point, we can finally make our entrance in World War II. So we're going to declare war on Italy, and at this point, or earlier if Germany attacked you earlier, we're going to pick war economy, and we're going to pick the military theorist, and we can finally spend some of this amazing army experience, and we're going to spend it into the superior firepower doctrine. Grand Battle Plan is also okay, but I had better results with superior firepower, although maybe I will make a dedicated video about this comparison. Now, we also want to pick the suppressive barrage tactic, and then later on we will also pick the smoke and fire spirit. And then before you pick the air doctrines, remember to pick the spirits, aircrew surveys, and centralized control. Especially aircrew surveys reduces the air doctrine cost by 15%, so you should always pick these first and doctrines later. Now, when attacking Italy, we can also replace the army defense expert with the army offense expert. And if you have enough political power, you can also pick utilize domestic film industry. Now, of course, we need to remember to switch our spy back onto build intel network, otherwise the spy network in Italy will not be active and it will not do anything. And then we also need to deploy all of the planes that we have been building, and we assign all of them to our Charles de Gaulle for the offensive in Italy. Now that everything is ready, I would recommend making a save. Now, in terms of the fleet, I usually split them into 2 or even 4 groups, and I set them on naval invasion support in these 2 regions. It's usually very easy to achieve the naval superiority. You shouldn't have any issues. And we can start immediately our naval invasion. As you start the naval invasion, I would also recommend moving the other units to Nice, so they can go from this harbor later on, and they don't risk being intercepted. We need to slow down the speed a little bit, and I recommend micromanaging a little bit the naval invasion in Italy. It can be a tricky part of the run. So the main priority with this naval invasion is to split Italy into 2, to cut off the northern and southern part of Italy. Okay, and then send over the remaining divisions as soon as possible to help in Italy. Now, when the spy is done in Italy, when it cannot help in Italy anymore, I would recommend starting the spy network in Luxembourg. Another thing you want to do when your other units reach Italy is creating another army in Italy. Split them off from the offensive army. And I want usually 10 divisions in there, 5 divisions out of here. So we have a total of 10 divisions. Now these 14 divisions main purpose will be to push the northern part of Italy and to cut off Germany completely. So you want to push something like this, and then later on you want to take all of northern Italy if possible. And with the other army, the idea is to keep the pressure up in southern Italy. So we keep pushing to the south of Italy. Now, when you see that they are removing their units from this front, not yet maybe, you can start the other offensive here with defensive and mountaineers. Okay, we can do it now. If nothing else, even just to keep them stuck in here so that they cannot reinforce. And finally, Germany attacks as well. So hopefully we'll get some nice experience up there. Okay, Rome is down. Everything is going according to plans in Italy. Ah, by the way, something I did not mention is we're not going to join the Allies. We are not going to call the UK into this war. But if you find it very difficult, if you're struggling a lot, then you can do that. And the UK will definitely help you, especially with the air superiority. But if we can do everything by ourselves, then we don't need to share the war score with anyone. So that's clearly better. Now, when the front in the north stabilizes, you should send the defensive army on this border. And later on, they will cover the border against Germany. Mussolini is deposed, so soon we will get the civil war in Italy. Okay, civil war in Italy. I usually slow down the game a bit here because sometimes if you're too fast at capitulating Italy, you don't get to transfer territory. But we really want to transfer our territory to our puppet Italy if possible. Hopefully we'll get the event. There we go. Okay, so we transfer the territory, and the main advantage of transferring territory to your puppet Italy is that in this way you don't need to take it in the peace conference. And that saves us quite a lot of points that we can invest on other things, since Italy is our puppet in any case. Okay, now as soon as Italy goes down, you can right click on them and you can request forces, take all of their forces and use them to help secure the border against Germany. Now at this point we can merge again the armies of Charles de Gaulle, and we can start preparing for our offensive in Germany. So Charles de Gaulle will go here and will prepare a spearhead offensive to get to Essen and Dortmund, which is our next target. At this point we are also going to start building infrastructures all over Italy to reduce their autonomy. We will need to annex them in order to form the European Union. Now we can move our navies back to Dunkirk, and from here they will support our offensive in Germany. And we're also going to move up here all of our planes. If you have new planes, make sure to deploy all of them as well. With the other offensive army here in Germany, we are going to plan a spearhead offensive to take the area of Amsterdam and Utrecht. And we do not want to pass this river, but we want to get a bridgehead up here in order to be able to push into northern Germany. And why the hell are you not using the freaking trains? I hate you. Use the trains. The first push here against Germany is a very tough one. So we want the best possible preparation, which means high planning, possibly, and divisions with maximum organization. We are not in a hurry, just want to get a good first push. Time is on our side. We will get more and more air superiority as we continue. And also we can split the planes between our two offensive armies so that they both get some support. You can also use a staff office plan to speed up the planning a little bit. Okay, I feel like we got decent planning, so we can start the offensive against Germany. Let's use our navy on naval invasion support in here so that they can support the offensive, at least on the northern side in the Netherlands and Belgium. And let's go and see how these first two painful offensives will be for us. And I see green numbers, especially in here. This one is usually a bit tougher. Oh, we even got an encirclement. This is very nice. Okay, when you complete the heavy bombs research, it's time to design our CAS. And we're going for my usual C2 design, except we're using the heavy bomb blocks, which are a bit cheaper. So we're going to bring the production of C2 to 25, and we're going to take those 25 out of the F2. So we're also going to bring the production of support equipment and artillery down to 5. Okay, here in the north we are being particularly successful, but I want to stop this offensive because the next one will be from this little bridgehead that we got in here. And we're going to push for Bremen, Münster, Dortmund and Essen. In this way we also help the other offensive, which is probably struggling a bit at this point. Make sure that the defensive armies are covering this part of the front, and let's also stop this very painful offensive. And again plan an offensive maybe for Kassel and Frankfurt too at this point. Now we can start the other push here as well. And here we got some nice encirclements. Very good. Oh, finally, the Swiss decided to trade with me. This event usually happens a lot earlier, just before the war. And it's very good because you can get civilian economies, which means minus 15% consumer good factories. That's very, very good, so we will get it now. Finally, we got the infantry expert and the infantry specialist. Now we can also pick these as an advisor. Now, when you struggle a bit with pushing, like in this case, we struggle with the north push, remember to stop. We're not in a hurry. Stop, take your time, rearrange it, plan again. You will get it done eventually. See, we were struggling, and now by just rearranging the army a little bit and waiting a second, we're getting much better results. Oh, we got a very lovely encirclement in here. This will help massively. With the northern push, it's now time to go for Rostock and Berlin. And down here, I think it's time to close this encirclement. Berlin is down. That's very nice. And I also see 2 nice units here in Magdeburg. Take care of them. Now in here, it's almost time to stop the push. We're going to push all the way to Stettin, and then we're going to stop. No need to push further, especially because this is Poland, and this will not give us much victory points for Germany. At this point, actually, rushing Vienna and Munich will end the war. But, I mean, when you see an encirclement like this, how can you not close it and kill all of them? Lovely amount of German divisions in here. So now, no need to push here in the mountains. It's particularly painful and we don't get much from it. So we're going to push towards Vienna. Things are looking very good for us, boys. And we can probably even attempt a rush on Vienna and just end the war. I am inclined to do that. Okay, we are going to take Vienna, so World War II will be over. This is a very good timing. It's only November 1940, so we were pretty fast at ending World War II. Let's check some of the stats here. I think the casualties are probably fairly high. But yeah, 250k, it's actually good casualties. The range is usually from 200k to 500k casualties in this war. And it depends a little bit. There is also a bit of RNG, of course, involved in this. But, I mean, we did cause them, well, the Germans in particular, 2.5 million. So I will not complain. So guys, this was a very good World War II. Of course, the strategy is exactly the same as the one we used with Democratic France, but keep in mind that our focus choice was completely different. So the fact that we can achieve the same results with this alternative strategy is very, very good. And the reason it's very, very good will be explained in a second. But first, let's get through the peace conference. Also, always make a save before the end of the war, just in case you mess up the peace conference. You don't want to do everything again. Okay, so in the peace conference, our priority is to annex all of the Italian and German cores, in addition to Belgium, the Netherlands and Luxembourg, because all of them will be cored in the European Union. After that, I also usually take Curaçao because it's useful to invade the United States, and then I also annex Hungary, Romania and Bulgaria to release them later on as puppets. Keep in mind that this area, this region of Hungary, is not a core of Hungary, it's a core of Czechoslovakia. So you shouldn't take it because you cannot release it as a puppet with Hungary anyway. Okay, we took everything as you can see and we still have quite a lot of points. That's a good thing though, because we also want to take the German Navy, the Italian Navy and Legionary Romania, amazing Navy. Just keep in mind, when you want to annex and then release as a puppet, which is what we are going to do with Hungary, Romania and Bulgaria, it's very important that you annex them entirely. Because if you leave even just one region not annexed, then you cannot release them as a puppet. So for example, in this case with Albania, I don't have enough points to take all of Albania. So say we skip a bit of Albania and we annex only these 2 provinces. Then instead of release as puppet, we will only have the option return territory, which will give this land back to Albania. So that's why if you want to use this strategy, you need to annex entirely. Now, the first thing we want to do after the war is we want to check the autonomy of Italy, which is very low. So very soon we will be able to annex Italy. We're going to occupy territories and we're going to release the Netherlands Antilles, Romania, Hungary, and Bulgaria. Now, this is optional. If you prefer to keep them as next territories, you can do so. And it's totally fine to do so, but I prefer to release them as puppets. Whenever you need something, you should always import it from your puppets. For example, oil. We can import oil from Romania now. I want to increase the production of C2 to 50. We're going to take them away from F2. And we also want to upgrade the MIOs, of course. Now, in terms of focuses, you can find that in the description as well. If you feel like you're going to be able to form the EU soon, you should not pick any additional focuses in here, and you should skip directly to the next one. Now, of course, you need to make sure that you can form the EU before completing the focus. And to form the EU, you only need to annex Italy. We need 999 more points, but that's why we made so many convoys. So we go into Land-Lease, we give them convoys once, all of them, and that should be enough. So I think we can get this focus done right after forming the EU. In case you're not able to form the EU in time, you can also cancel the focus, it's okay. Let me also mention something else, because this is an important part of the run. Now, the reason this strategy is so amazing is that now you're left with 3 alternative options, entirely viable. So you can go for the legitimate heir, and this will allow you later on to core the land in Spain. Or you can go for the Third Empire, which is more aggressive, and especially it brings back Napoleon. And I mean, the whole point of this run, of this video, is to bring back Napoleon. So of course we are going to proclaim the Third Empire. But you don't have to. If you prefer one of the other paths, you can also make a save and explore the other ones too. So as you can see here, you can even go fascist from here. So you can go fascist, you can go non-aligned with 3 alternative options. We are going for Napoleon. Okay, our land lease got to Italy, meaning we can annex Italy. And consequently, we can also realize the European unity. We are now the European Union, and we are on our way to becoming non-aligned and bringing back Napoleon. And very soon you will see our factories and manpower significantly increase. That's already the case. Only 3 more days. 1 more day, and there we go. Napoleon is back. He may not look as cool as he used to, but he is back. And we are now the French Empire. But we're also the European Union, so we retained all of our cores on all of Germany, all of Italy, the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, everything. So we are incredibly strong. It's only January 1941. We have an entire run ahead of us. And this is what we control already, basically all of Europe. And we are ready to face the Allies. We are ready to avenge Waterloo. So guys, this will be the end for this particular video, but I plan to continue this run. Of course, we created the French Empire, we brought back Napoleon. How could we not go after the UK and avenge Waterloo? So we are going to continue this run. Make sure not to miss the next video. If you enjoyed this guide, I worked a lot on it. I think it's very well optimized. Please do not forget to support the channel by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and also leaving a comment. That's also very important. All of these things help massively with the algorithm. And also guys, I feel like the guide is very well optimized, but if you come up with any other ideas, with any suggestions for further improvements, please make sure to let me know in the comments. Keep in mind that I was able to create this optimized guide thanks to some of these suggestions that I got from you from my old French guide. So I really listen carefully to any suggestion, and I always try to implement them in future guides. France was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to continuing this run. So I will see you guys in the next video. If you stayed with me until now, thank you for watching. Bye bye.